the NASCAR show, and nothing says NASCAR like me, right, guys? What is up? It's wonderful to see everybody on this. Well, I don't see you, you see us on this Sunday morning. You know, the Daytona 500 is here. Look at Coop's face. He's so happy. If you see his right arm moving up and down, let me know in the chat. That'll be a little concerning. Matty Ice.
I'm a left arm person, man. Opposite arm, man, is better.
You're lefty. Okay, I didn't need to know that. So anyways, like this video, subscribe to the Run Pure Sports channel. Check out the Run Pure Bet side too. It's terrific stuff. You can subscribe to their videos. So let me just be open and honest with you. This is not about me. I don't know shit about NASCAR. Like I was telling the guys, I had radio shows with Biffle and Earnhardt and Denny Hamlin. It was 20 years ago. So what do we do though? We got two of the best in the business though. We got them on, and I'm here to babysit them. So obviously, Coop is here. Matty Ice is here. Matty and Ice and I are doing 3 shows in the next 4 days. We got NHL shows on Tuesday and Wednesday, starting at 4:45 Eastern. So let's get into this. There's a few things to talk about. And again, hit the like button for us. That'll be wonderful. Doing a free show for you here on this Sunday morning. Daytona 500. So, Coop, good morning. Your left hand is not moving up and down, so talk to me. Before we get into strategy or anything else, how big of a day is this for you?
It's a very big day. I mean, you know, it's the Super Bowl racing. You're going to expect the unexpected. You never know what's going to happen today. Some crazy stuff will happen. And, you know, it's just a fun kickoff to the entire season. So.
Matty Ice, I mean, I'm looking in here. The excitement is real today in the chat. They're all pumped. Quentin, it's his first day for NASCAR. Talk to me, man. How exciting is this for you, Mr. Hockey Guy? Is this just let's stay at home and watch the race all day?
I will definitely be at home watching the race today. You kind of got to look at it backwards compared to every other sport. Every other sport, we work to the biggest game, the Super Bowl, the World Series. NASCAR is completely opposite. They start with their Super Bowl. It's the biggest race of the year. Everybody's going to be there, from celebrities to Michael Jordan, team owners. It's a big time race. It's a big time show. It's sold out. I think they're expecting, what they say, Coop, close to 70,000 or maybe 100,000. I can't remember what they said. But it's going to be a lot of people today. 140, yeah. So it's a big deal today.
Michael Jordan's out there, huh? He's going to have a good
time. He owns a team. Floyd Mayweather.
All right, Matty Ice. So I got questions for Coop, and I'm going to start with you. Talk to me about the last 2 days. We're trying to win money in DFS. All right. So you don't have to know a lot about NASCAR. You can't just listen to Coop and Matty Ice and put a lineup in and think you're going to win. Do a little research on your own. Okay. But talk to me. What's going on these last 2 days over at Run Pure, and how are we doing?
Last 2 days have been very good. We've implemented the strategy. We play on these super speedways. Friday night, we hit the winner in Zane Smith early in chat. I know BigT and a bunch of the guys and Coop got on Zane Smith, which was nice. Yesterday, we were on Noah Gregson. He ended up 3rd. Had a good day. I saw somebody in chat had a 10K shipper yesterday. Me and Coop were both pretty heavy on Josh Balicki, who was the printer for us yesterday. But yeah, it's been a very good day for me the last 2 days, and I hope to keep it going today.
So, Coop, you gave me a nice piece of strategy. First of all, you challenged me. You said you were gonna, ask me some NASCAR stuff. I don't care if you do.
Let's start with that, man. All so, right. What former NASCAR team made their home in Denver, Colorado, which is your current home?
Gibbs. I don't know. You tell me. He's in North Carolina, probably. Who?
Front Row Furniture. You've never heard of Front Row Furniture?
Oh, no. I actually have some furniture from Front Row Furniture. I just didn't know they were involved in NASCAR.
So you would never know their driver then. Their driver was Martin Truex Jr.
I've heard of Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah.
Are we looking pretty good with Martin Truex Jr. today? Is he a part of this?
I will not be touching Martin Truex Jr.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, me either.
You're not either. All right. So do not roster Martin Truex Jr. today. All right, Coop, that's enough of the questions. I ask you the questions. All right. We want people that know NASCAR to talk about this. So you gave me a piece of strategy before it went on, though, and I think this is really important. You said it doesn't matter who wins the race. It's about accumulating points. So talk to those of us that are not NASCAR viewers about that piece of strategy.
This race is all about place differential points, losing them and gaining them. Obviously, you want to have the drivers in your lineups that have the highest upside to gain these. The race is unpredictable. In the past, we've seen a lot of accidents occur. And, you don't know when the accidents are going to happen. You don't know where they're going to happen. The drivers who start in the back could be in the front, and they could end up in the accident. The driver who starts in the front could end up in the accident. But the bottom line, it's all about points. And, if you're playing Kyle Larson, who's starting first, he wins the race, he gets 45 points, but he will get no place differential points. Any additional points that he would have to occur would come from fastest laps and laps led. Fastest laps, you get 0.45 points, and they're spread throughout the field so evenly during this race that it's hard to accumulate more than 10 fastest laps. So you're really looking at like 4 to 5 points that you could particularly gain from that tops. Laps led are only 0.25, and typically the leader of this race will lead no more than 50 laps. So again, you're looking at around 10 points, maybe a little bit more than what you can get. So you're looking at maybe 15 points. So you put them at 58. Whereas you have a driver that starts 32nd and he goes up a 10th. You're going to get the 10th place finishing points, which I don't know what is off the top of my head, but I'll just say 37 points. And then he would accrue all the differential points of gaining 22 on top of that, which would put him in front of Kyle Larson. And that is, basically how it shakes down. Now, if Kyle Larson were to get into an accident, he would accrue a lot of negative points. So let's say he finishes 30th. We'll say you get 10 points for finishing 30th, but then he would lose 30 points on top of that. He would be in the negatives. So, there's a lot of downside risk on playing the drivers to start in the front.
Okay. How about you, Matty Ice? You want to give us a little tutorial or strategy on scoring in NASCAR? We just heard Coop give his. Anything to add there?
Yeah, I think you have to look at this race completely backwards than we do at 95% of the other races. Anytime we do a NASCAR show, me and Coop are going to be sitting here talking to you about dominators and laps led and things of that sort. As to where today it's an afterthought for me. It's not even something I really consider. We're basically just flipping the script. We're looking for guys who have safe floors and massive place differential upside compared to a guy. If we're like next week at California, where we're looking for somebody to lead 150 laps and dominate the race. It's just not that kind of race. It's completely different. So you have to just completely change your mindset on what you're trying to accomplish in your builds.
Who did the playbook today? Because I read the playbook this morning.
That was Coop. Coop today.
Yep. And Coop, you're talking about this. The past 5 Daytona 500s, top 6 scoring totals has come from positions 26 and back on 24 of the 30 spots available. So that's exactly what you're talking about, right? Get a little different here.
Right. So, if Ryan Blaney starts 7th and wins today, it doesn't hurt me whatsoever. There's a very good chance he will not be in the top 6 point scorers. It all depends upon how the race plays out too. But I think one driver has started in the top 10, and that was around 10th position, I believe, who has been a top 10 scorer over the last 5 Daytona 500s.
Okay. Let's talk about the brand new cars. Matty Ice, you got to bring up the brand new cars. Coop, what about the brand new cars? How's that affecting things?
They're pretty hot, I believe. I think they look good. They look more like a street car that you would buy. But there's so much newness to this. Before they were using a mirror, like we have in our cars. Now they're using a camera to show them what's behind them. The wheels are thicker. Everything about the car is completely different than what they're currently running in Xfinity and what they've run in the past. So, even down to the point to where, drivers are having to learn, how much to turn the steering wheel when they are, making turns, avoiding accidents, so on and so forth, making passes, because, before you would turn it a lot more. Now you're having to turn it a lot less. So, everything about the car is completely different. They've had a little bit of practice time on this, but not very much. And we have not seen 40 cars on the track yet, in this new package. So, if anybody out there tells you they know what's going to happen today, I would just, walk right away from them. So, because nobody knows what's going to happen today. We could see a bunch of draft racing. We could see a bunch of tandem racing. We could see, a bunch of single file racing. We could see a bunch of, small packs of cars racing against each other. You'll probably see a portion of all that throughout, the race, but the majority of the race, we don't know which format is going to happen.
Okay. So here, Matty Ice, we play, football's over now, basketball, you got to have game script, right? We come up with a game script and that's how we roster players. Well, it sounds like Coop just said there's no game script, right?
He's right. There is none.
How the hell do you build a lineup?
You got to trust your process. So as in any sport, you have a process and you stick to it. Our game plan has worked. Is there a lot of unknowns going in today? Absolutely. Nobody, like Coop said, nobody's seen 40 cars on the track. We have no clue what they're going to be like in a pack together. Could be complete chaos. They could all be running on the top line in a row of 40 cars and run 100 laps. We just don't know. What we do know is Daytona breeds, cautions and multiple car wrecks. So I don't feel the need to change my strategy up from what we've done in years past. If something happens where 8 of the top starting 10 cars finish that way, well, then maybe we rethink it next time. But I just don't see that happening. But there's so many unknowns with this new car. We just don't know what it's going to do in the draft. We've seen guys in the duels who were the last car in the draft just completely lose the draft and be lapped. So, there's a ton of unknowns. I think it's going to be fun, but I'm not changing my strategy from what we've done in the past for this race.
Okay, so we're going to get into the individual races and everything. I did tell the ladies and gentlemen in the chat, by all means, drop some questions in, and I'll throw those questions at you. And I think there's some good ones that are already coming out. So before we get to the actual racers themselves, or the drivers, I should say, sorry, the drivers themselves, let's get to some chat questions. Also, we're at 58 likes, 152 watching right now. So hit the like button. That'd be great. It's that little red subscribe button in the bottom right-hand corner. You can hit that too.
Hold it. I do got to say one thing. I want to give a shout out to one of our longtime RPS guys, Dave Mayo. He's changing tires for Noah Gragson today on the 62 car. He's won numerous rings with Denny Hamlin as a pit crew member, but he's running with Noah Gragson today. So I wanted to give him a shout out on the show and wish him luck.
He's a subscriber?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
His last Daytona 500 will be this year.
Really?
Yep.
That's kind of cool.
Great guy.
I'm glad you
and he has a lot. He has a lot of bling there, Holden. So you would like him.
I don't like. Look at me. Do I wear any bling?
He looks like Tom Brady when he holds up his hands.
Oh, all right. They give nice rings if you win in NASCAR, huh? All right, very good.
But real quick, just speaking to him, one of the things we didn't mention before is, he's a tire changer. In the past, they've had 5 lug nuts on these cars. Now they have 1. And this is the first time that they're going to be changing these tires live when it really counts and under pressure. And he said he can't, name the amount of times that he has messed up so far. Putting this one single lug nut on. And before he's been with 5 lug nuts. He felt confident that all 5 of them were secure. He could listen to it. He could tell from the feel of it. Now he doesn't have that feel. He doesn't know what, the confidence. So, don't be surprised if there's a lot of, tire issues with lug nuts and stuff like that. And pit road will be busy, and pit road will lose some people the race, and lose people, DFS points and things of that nature today.
Okay. So here's a question. Leaving salary on the table. What do you guys think about that strategy? No, Coop?
No issue. No issue.
No, Matty Ice?
Leave as much as you want. Salary is absolutely no issue today, in my opinion.
Okay, so that's good to know. Guys, you can do whatever you want with salary today. Are the cars designed to go slower so you need more driving skill? That's from Hefe. And the other one was from Kevin. Hey, Kevin. But Hefe wants to know if the cars are designed to go slower. Do you need more skilled drivers today?
I mean, I think this package has them running slower than we've seen in the past. Will that continue for the rest of the year? I don't know. I mean, I expect NASCAR to tweak the packages as we go along, but I mean, right now, yeah, I mean, they're running slower than they have in the past. I think some of the speeds in the Xfinity race yesterday were actually higher than we saw in the duels for the Cup Series.
Hey, Coop, Richie Smalls, we see him for all the sports. He goes, I'm a first-time NASCAR DFS player. What's the first thing I'm looking for in a starting lineup? Driver positions or the drivers themselves or track history or what? So what's the number one thing you're looking at, Coop?
I want as much upside as I can potentially get in that lineup while trying to keep it more unique.
What do you think, Matty Ice? What's something that you can give Richie Smalls and our viewers right now, the one thing they're looking for when they're starting their lineups?
Yeah, I agree. Track history, like, compare this race to like going to the casino and rolling a dice. I mean, there are guys like Denny Hamlin who have, very, very good track history, but this race is a complete crapshoot. I'm looking to build upside into my lineups, like Coop said. So I'll be looking to play guys in the back and trying to find some pieces that I think are going to be lower owned to make my builds unique.
All right, boys, let's get into this. Let's go start talking about some drivers now. We're at that point in the show. The bread and butter of the playbook, it says here. Let's talk about the drivers with the highest upside then, Coop, because you said we need the guys with the upside. We're accumulating points. We want guys in the back a little bit. Give me a name or two here that we should be looking at in the bread and butter section of building our lineups.
I mean, the obvious plays are Noah Gragson, Eric Emerald, Austin Dillon, and Denny Hamlin. The majority of lineups out there will start with, a piece of those four. A lot of lineups will start with 2, 3, and 4 of them. So, just there, if you're going to play those drivers, you need to find other ways to get different and unique, especially if you're wanting to win $1 million a day. Because, if you have those 4 drivers on your team, and let's say all 4 of those drivers hit well, the chances of somebody winning $1 million is slim to nil today, because it's going to be chopped a lot of ways. So, I think the biggest thing is, my way to look at it is, I want obviously a big piece of the pie of all 4 of those drivers because of how good they are in this race format, and obviously how much upside they provide. But I want to do it differently. I'll play a little bit of them as 3 of them. I have no lineups with all 4 of them. The majority of my lineups are with 2 of them. And then, I have a bunch of lineups where it's just 1 of them. And then I have lineups out there that have none of them. So, but you just want to look at ways to get different with them, because, a lot of people, I don't care about the ownership. Like Hamlin will probably be around 50%. I want myself personally, I'll probably be around 40 to 45% on him, because 15% of the lineups that will have Denny Hamlin are basically dead to begin with, because they'll have drivers who start in the top 10. Like if you're playing Kyle Larson, who started in the pole, I would imagine half the people that play Kyle Larson are going to play Denny Hamlin in that lineup, and you're just not providing yourself with very much upside in that lineup. So in reality, he might be 50%, but I would probably say around 35% of lineups are ones that are actually good that I need to compete against.
Yeah. So what has he got? He's won Daytona 3 times, top 5 4 times in his 32 races. Huh? How about that for research? All right, Matty Ice, talk to me about these guys too. I'm just looking at the playbook, the guys with the highest upside. Where are you sitting on Hamlin? Give me another driver or two where we start there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Coop mentioned the main guys in this section, and anybody who's playing this or has another provider or whatever, we're all going to be on these guys. Like Coop said, the key is to get different. There are a few guys in this section that Coop didn't mention that I'll kind of mention off the cuff here. I do like Daniel Hemrick a lot. He's a good plate racer. He ran very well yesterday. He had no issues in the duels, but they kind of hung back on purpose because they didn't want to wreck their piece. Another guy who I think comes in low owned today, and people just won't talk about him because he's not a big name, is BJ McLeod. He's he's a decent plate racer. He'll come in massively under owned to where he's starting today. And as we've seen before, anybody can win this race. It is wide open. Do not be surprised if BJ McLeod brings that car home 10th, 12th place.
All right, let's move on to the
Well,
next. Yeah,
my favorite driver, like in that range from a GPP perspective, is Cody Ware. He's driving with Rick Ware Racing. Rick Ware was not very good last year. They had 4 drivers. They just basically drove around and
wrecked.
This year they have teamed up with Stewart Haas Racing, who's a formidable team in the Cup Series. And this week so far, they have shown very good speed. Especially being able to keep up with the draft. So, there's a great chance that he, loses that draft, which is fine. Because in the past, one of the reasons we would play, drivers like a Cody Ware or a BJ McLeod is because they would lose the draft and they would not be involved in the accidents, so they would just gain spots based upon that. So if he loses a draft and then there's an accident, that's great, because I know, at the end, if there's, let's say, 10 to 15 cars left, and we're down to like 5 laps, he can maintain that draft in 5 laps. He might not be able to maintain the draft over a 20-lap run and stuff like that. So that would put him in a great position to, finish in the top 10, in the top 15, somewhere in that ballpark. And with him being in 32nd place, with him being a no name, with him being, with Rick Ware Racing, I would imagine he's the lowest owned, who has upside. Kaz Gralla and Jack Villeneuve are not plays for me, because I don't think either one of them has speed. I don't think anybody out there is going to trust Jack Villeneuve and want to be around him, because he's a Formula One driver and he has very little experience here. And, the Kaz Gralla car's already had issues.
You literally read my mind with Jacques Villeneuve. I literally don't think anybody's going to want to be around that dude.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be Sacha Baron Cohen just coming in here and taking people down. This is, let's get the fuck away from this guy, and hopefully we'll have a 3-lap lead and we can stay as far away from him as possible. All right. I like it. Matty Ice, why don't you get us going on the second part of this, which would be the drivers who have the upside and they're safe enough to roster in the Millie Maker.
You want to go to the next section of drivers, or
the place differential drivers? So yeah, Ty Dillon, Justin Haley, talk about that tier of guys.
Okay, yeah, Justin Haley's going to be an obvious. The kid's a stud plate racer. He's won numerous races. He's going to have a good car. I expect him to be fairly chalky, just based off his name. Ty Dillon can get it done. I know Coop had mentioned in chat, I think the Vegas odds on him have moved the most in the past few days. Greg Biffle is a hell of a racer. Coop also mentioned this in chat. Most of the people playing DFS today have no clue who the hell Greg Biffle is.
Except for
Greg Biffle.
I know Greg Biffle on a personal level. I used to.
The Biff can get it done. He knows that he has to be there at the end. I like him quite a bit today. William Byron is actually in my core on my GPV core on the site. I like him quite a bit today. I was looking at some ownerships on SaberSim, which I don't trust for the life of me, but I think he goes slightly overlooked today. He's been progressively getting better and better and better on the super speedways and finds himself running up front. He's an elite equipment. I find him to be quite appealing in my builds today.
Okay, let's go to Coop here on this section of things. Mr. Coop, talk to me. The place differential drivers.
The drivers running from 24th to 29th starting position are probably my favorite GPPs of the whole entire slate. Every single one of these drivers can get it done on the super speedways. Corey LaJoie has been optimal many a times. He's very good. Justin Haley's won multiple races in the Xfinity in this. Ty Dillon, he's finished in the top 10 4 of his last 8 races. He has a second and a third here. He understands how to avoid the accidents. He's been lucky, whatever you want to call it. Greg Biffle was a very good plate driver, in his days. So he understands how to get the job done. And the thing I like about Biffle is during the duels, he showed speed. He has RCR, full support, who understands how to build great cars for this race. So it's hard to click on Greg Biffle, but you need to click on some Greg Biffle. Same with Landon Castle. Landon Castle is going to be extremely underowned because of the starting position. And then we have Todd Gillen, who in the truck races and Xfinity races did very good on the super speedways. And he's a rookie, and people will stay away from him. So the bottom line between all these drivers from 24th to 29th, they're all going to eat each other's ownership a piece. And they're all going to come in much lower owned than what they should. I would probably say 10 to 15%. Because they're going to eat that up. I want 35 to 40% of these drivers in my lineup, because near the end, I can guarantee that two of these drivers, if we see races like we have in the past, will end up in the top 10.
Okay.
I want to say one thing. Todd Gilliland is a hell of a race car driver. Like, people don't know him. He's been racing in the truck series for years. This kid could have won 8 to 10 races if it wasn't for his damn pit crew in that truck series. He is a very, very good racer.
Yep. And then as far as the bottom part of the 20s, you have Logano, you have Harvick, you have Byron. If you want to get different, start your lineup with two of them, or just start with one of them and ignore Denny Hamlin, Noah Gragson, Austin Dillon, and Eric Almirola. And that will make you different right away. Because the majority of the people that play those three drivers that I just aforementioned will have one of those four paired up with them. So, there's, all three of those drivers, could win here. Byron's won in Daytona last year. Harvick's a previous Daytona 500 winner. Logano is one of the best super speedway drivers out here. So, starting with two of them, one of them, you can even play all three of them, which will be different. Will make your lineup different. So just make sure that, when you're playing them, you want to have the drivers 24 through 9th. You want to have some Cole Custer. You want to have some David Reagan, who we didn't mention before, who's one of the best super speedway drivers out there too, who's starting 34th, who probably won't garner the ownership that, he should. Most people will click on Hemrick and or Custer before David Reagan.
Okay.
Yeah, my core on the website actually starts with Byron and then Reagan.
Like, if you're looking for single entry, like, ways to go, like I have 8 single entry 3 max lineups. I took 4 of them, and I started with one of the drivers of the big 4 in the back, so I could be a little bit different. And the other 4, I didn't play any of those drivers, and I strictly went with like a Logano and a Harvick and a Byron type of build. The thing is, like, people are it's so hard to click on some of these names like Greg Biffle and Landon Castle. But if we see wrecks, they're going to be there at the end because, they have fast cars. And, they probably will avoid the wrecks because they're going to lose the draft at the beginning. And, and like I said, 5 to 10 laps, they can hold the draft and they can compete and get up there.
I think that was a huge point that you mentioned on Biffle, is that he was up in the pack, wrestling around with the big boys in the duel. That was something I wanted to see. And
I mean, Kaz Garland made this race because JJ Yeley was that slow.
Correct.
I mean, it was pitiful. So if Kaz Garland and Jack Villeneuve gain any ownership, I'll be happy to avoid them. And if they beat me, they beat me. But I'll take my chances that they're not going to beat me.
So I just came up with a question for the show. Before we do that, 226 watching, which is a pretty nice number here for a Sunday morning Daytona 500, and 80 likes. Let's try and get that 50-50. So if we get 3, let's try to get to 125 likes for the end of the show. That would be nice. So listen, these guys, we all woke up early for you. We're doing a free show. Let's hit the like button, subscribe button in the right-hand corner. The second thing is, Coop, will you be drunk at any point in time during this race today?
I'm not a big drinker. I'm sorry to disappoint.
You're not a drinker. What about you, Matty Ice? I know you like beer.
I'll be firing it up for sure.
Yeah, you're gonna be hammered.
I don't know if I'll be hammered, but we'll be hitting the gas a little bit for sure.
Okay, very good. So you'll probably be hammered by the end of it. Is that the best way just to watch NASCAR? Just sit back, drink like 40 beers.
You flip it on the big screen, turn on the surround sound, cook a little grub. You know, what's better than that?
The best way to listen to NASCAR is to hook up to the pit road teams and their scanners and listen to some of those teams. Because one, you can find some interesting nuggets. Two, a lot of times they're throwing a lot of side out on each other, and there's a lot of good jokes coming through there.
How do you find that?
Right on the NASCAR website.
So go to the NASCAR website and listen to it through that. That's awesome, because we've got a lot of people in here like me. I mean, we're not NASCAR guys, but
you'd be surprised how much shit they talk about each other on the radio.
And they know it, right? They know that they talk shit about each other, right? All of them do.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I like that. But they're not allowed to talk shit to each other, like over these communications. You're just not doing.
Oh no, they're not talking driver to driver. They're talking driver to crew chief, driver to spotter.
Okay. And last but not least, before we get back into the meat and potatoes, hey, what are the chances of a fight today?
It could happen.
Yeah. Who are you handicapping? Who's fighting today? Who are the two guys that hate each other you think could go at it?
I'd like to see somebody whoop Logano's ass.
Yeah. Look at Coop. He's smiling.
You'd like to see Hamilton Logano, probably.
Nothing would make me happier than those two beta cucks going at it.
Oh, Coop, we're a lot older than Matty Ice. Did you understand what he said there when he said beta cuck?
I have no idea what that means.
Okay, I didn't think you would. I do, because I cucked somebody before, but don't worry about that. Let's move on. And Matty, risky GPP plays, my friend. Let's go to this tier. We'll start with Kurt Busch, and maybe besides for Kurt Busch, you can give us another risky GPP play.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kurt's in play. Kurt's been around a long time. The Toyotas tend to be fast, but we just don't know what they have. But I'll have a little bit of Kurt. Ricky Reckhouse Jr. is obviously a super speedway ringer. It's always his best chance to win. He's going to be very aggressive. I don't expect him to lay back. I would think he wants to get up to the front. Seems to be his MO every time. Tyler Reddick, I have a little bit of interest in as well. And same goes for Bubba Wallace. He seems to excel at these plate races. I don't think he's going to get it done, on like a mile or a mile and a half. I think if he wants to get another W similar to, I think it was Talladega that we saw the rain, where he won the rain race. I think it'll have to be another plate race like Daytona.
Coop, what about this tier?
This is tier where it comes down to roster construction for me. I like a lot of these drivers, but I won't be playing any of them together. I will play them individually, and I will have them loaded with drivers, or starting back. Like I might have one of them paired with a Logano, Harvick, or Byron, but then all the other four drivers will be from 24th on back. So I think, this is possibly where your Millie is won, because, they're going to have low ownership. Nobody's going to play Kurt Busch because Kurt Busch's price, is right around Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, and William Byron, and they're all going to click on him prior to that. So, I expect Kurt Busch to probably around 10-12%. Ross Chastain is another one. Daniel Suarez is another one. They're not going to be played, but, they still have upside. They have potential to win this race. Same with Stenhouse, Reddick, the same way. The two favorite that I have out of here that absolutely nobody's going to play, they're probably like 8% tops owned if they get to that point, is Eric Jones and Chris Bell. They're extremely risky drivers. But Eric Jones has won at Daytona before. Chris Bell has led laps here before. He's just been collected in the accidents, and he's a much better driver than the results show. So I don't have a problem taking a couple of sprinkles on any of these drivers. The two that I did fade is Bubba Wallace and Chase Elliott. I'm like Matty. Bubba I think is going to draw some ownership in here. And I think he's going to take ownership away from, you know, a Reddick. He's going to take ownership away from a Bush, you know, and a Suarez and Ross Chastain, and make them better plays, in my opinion. And, you know, those drivers had just as good of a chance to do as well as Bubba Wallace. The one that, you know, is worrisome for me is Chase Elliott. You know, the thing is with Chase Elliott is his name, and he's going to collect ownership himself simply through his name. And, you know, he's been a good driver here. He just hasn't had, you know, the luck be on his side. And, you know, he could burn me, and that luck be on his side today. Wouldn't surprise me if he won at all. But, you know, since we're not getting as much ownership in the top 10, you know, because of the drivers that are starting up there, I'm willing to take a chance on Bubba Wallace and Chase Elliott to gain some of that ownership edge back.
Okay, guys. Again, like button. Oh, we're at 103 already. Let's try to get to 125. Thank you for watching this morning. And we got a whole bunch of questions we'll get to after this. So there is one more tier to get to, Coop, and that would be the key fades. Let's talk about some key fade drivers, my friend. Who's at the top? Well, give me 3 guys that you just don't want anything to do with today that people might actually be rostering.
I don't want anything to do with any of the drivers starting top 10. I don't have any of them on any of my rosters whatsoever, strictly because of all the downside that they carry, and strictly because, you know, past performance shows that they're not going to be a top 10 DK score when it's all said and done. So I have no interest in any of them.
What do you think there, Matty Ice? Who are you fading today? Give us a name or two. You say top 10. Anybody in particular that might be popular?
I mean, I think as good as Kyle Larson was last year, I think some people end up playing Kyle Larson. I'm in the same boat with Coop. I'm not playing any of these guys, even though the guy I think wins the race is in this section. I'm still not playing him. I mean, I'm a Kyle Busch guy as well. I'm not picking him to win, but I think he'll probably garner just a little bit of ownership just based off his name. But I'm in the same boat as Coop. These guys in the top 10, I just have no interest in, and they won't make my lineups.
Don't even mess with them. All right, guys. I am not Eskimo Brothers with Biffle. I don't think. Nice, Kevin. It could be, but it's highly doubtful. Wes wants to know, Cooper, Matty Ice. Didn't Kurt Busch move to Hamlin's team? Does he have the car to compete at the end? What do you think, Matty Ice? Why don't you take that one?
Yeah. He moved over to the 23 Racing family team, owned by Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin. I expect him to have speed. I mean, they got plenty of bankroll. I have no issue playing Kurt whatsoever. And I think Coop's right. I think he just comes in overlooked just based off where he's priced at on DraftKings.
Coop, our buddy West Coast Gem wants to know, did anybody get pushed back from their starting position because they didn't pass inspection?
Inspection, I think, doesn't end until 12. It really doesn't matter because, you know, in 5 laps, you can go from 1st to 35th, and you can go from 35th to 1st in this race. So I really don't care who fails or passes inspection.
Yeah, I don't want to get
okay. I mean, the only thing that would matter, Coop, is if you failed like 2 or 3 times, right? Or three times. But I don't see that happening either. These cars have been prepped for weeks. I don't see that happening.
Coop, Brian M. Biffle seems like he'll have ownership based on this winning odds. What are your thoughts on ownership for Biffle?
First off, based on I have odds. If you're using odds to relate anything to this race, you're going the wrong way because you know, there's so much randomness within this race. The odds don't matter. You know, Denny Hamlin's a plus 900. I think he's the betting favorite. On a typical week, the betting favorite will be plus 400. So that right there should show you how much Vegas, you know, is unaware of what's going to happen. So you can throw betting odds out related to how a driver is going to potentially perform this week. Okay. What was the rest of the question, though?
No, that's enough. Whatever the hell I asked you, you just gave a good answer. Matty Ice, this is from Simone Puma. How many per lineup in the 25 to 29 group should we script in?
I mean, it depends. I mean, I'll probably have, you know, me and Coop have been trying to drive home this point is we're going to be trying to get unique in our builds because like Coop said, a lot of people are going to go click on Amarola. They're going to click on Austin Dillon. They're going to click on Denny Hamlin. You know, guys that are known good plate racers are starting in the rear. I'm probably going to have probably 2 of those drivers in most of my builds today. I really like that 20 section. So I'm going to try to stay away from jamming in like a Hamlin, Amarola, Dillon into all my lineups and play some guys in that 25 to 30 section, paired with like a Byron, maybe a Reagan, to try to make myself a little bit different.
Okay.
Hey, Holden, like roster construction is so different for this particular race than anything, that we've done before. Like in most DFS, like NBA, NFL, like you want 3 players and you want to have 3 of those players in 75% of your lineups. Well, that's not a very good strategy today. You want to have, as many different lineups with as many different drivers as you can possibly have, because let's say you have, 55% Austin and Dillon, and Austin Dillon, doesn't show up. Well, 55% of your lineups are now competing for minimum cash at best. So, let's say you have another driver paired with him of Eric Amarola, and he's at 55% ownership too. Well, you weren't paying attention, and of those 55% of my ownerships, 35% of them have those two drivers in the same lineup. So now 35% of your lineups are completely dead. So you want to try to get as many different drivers in your lineups as possible who have upside and not, have, a lot of the same in the same lineups.
Cool, but I want to make the point too, because on a normal week, you'll hear people in chat say I'm locking this guy or I'm locking that guy. I'm not locking anybody today. So I want to make that very clear for people who are playing multiple lineups today. I'm not locking a single driver into any one of my builds. I'll not be locking Denny Hamlin into a build or something where you might lock a dominator at a different race. That's not something I'm even considering today.
Okay. So here's the other thing. 15 more likes. Let's get to 125 before we get out of here. Come on, free show for you. Second thing I want to ask you, are you guys going to be in the Discord today for the members? Is there going to be some Discord chatter? Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. So we got some questions out of the way on the show. I wanted to do that. But for those of you that are members, make sure you get into the Discord and ask the guys. You got any question, they're going to hook you up. It's like that for every single sport, right? So they're going to ask, they will answer your questions. So make sure you get in the Discord. If you haven't signed up yet, go ahead and sign up. Become a member, run Pure Sports, and run Pure Bets. Kind of fun stuff. So let's get some final thoughts here. Coop, final thoughts on today's race. What's the best nugget you can give our viewers today? And some final thoughts.
Just enjoy the race and don't sweat it. Everybody's, the big wreck's not happening. The big wreck's not happening, blah, 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 blah. Well, I don't need the big wreck to happen, to be quite honest with you, because, the place differential positions will happen without the big wreck. It's just the negative points that, the drivers that would accumulate up front possibly won't happen, which means, the drivers like a David Reagan, a Cole Custer, if they don't have the greatest race and they finish back, where they are, they're not going to be as good as, what they could have been if there were some wrecks. So, don't tilt because, I can guarantee you, I would not be surprised if you don't see a wreck until lap 180 or more, so it is what it is. You just got to be patient with it. And, it can be frustrating. The other piece is don't look at your lineups, don't screenshot, where somebody, you got this great lineup, so on and so forth, because the next lap, you literally could be out of the money. So, don't look at your lineups until, the checker flag has flown.
Okay. Matty Ice, a little nugget before we get out of here.
Yeah, I'm with Coop there. Don't be a scoreboard watcher today. If you're a scoreboard watcher today, you're going to be one miserable SOB for 4 hours. There's just too much going on. I would say just enjoy the race. It's going to be a fun race. It's the biggest race of the year. It's America's race. It's a big deal. Sit back, relax, eat some grub. I will throw a little nugget out, and I've been saying it all week long, and I'm not playing them in my DFS builds, but I am picking Ryan Blaney to win the race today in the Penske ride.
Now you're smirking. Why are you smirking after you say that?
I just like my boy Blaney, even though he cut his hair off and he looks like a 7-year-old child. but he's going to get it done today. He's going to win.
Okay, so I should place my risk-free bet on Ryan Blaney to win.
I think Ryan Blaney gets her done.
Two things you can count on. One, Matty Ice picking Ryan Blaney to win a race. Two, Denny Hamlin being picked by Mikey to win a race.
I mean, I pick Kyle Busch much more than I pick Ryan Blaney, but I am the leader of the Ryan Blaney fan club. Yes.
All right.
He's a good plate racer.
Coop, is this a decent bet? You said don't bet on this, but like, should I bother with Blaney or just use it somewhere else?
Like, the thing is with Blaney, you can get Blaney at 10 or 12 to 1 odds, probably, 100 laps into this race.
He's 12 to 1 right now.
And, you'll have 100 laps to determine, if he's still in the race or not, versus doing it. If I'm making a pre-race bet, I've made 2 pre-race bets this week for winners. It's going to be a big long shot. I took Ty Dillon at 130 to 1 on FanDuel. He sends down to 90, and I took Eric Jones at 66 to 1 on BetMGM. So, those would be my 2 choices. Because
what were Reagan's odds this week, Coop?
They were under 50.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I jumped on Ty Dillon, man. Like, he's so mispriced.
All right, boys and
who's
ladies.
your winner, Holden?
What?
Who's
Greg
your winner?
Biffle. Hit the like button
Greg
on
Biffle.
Biffle. Hit the like button on the way out. And again, we're going to have some hockey shows on Tuesday and Wednesday, starting at 4:45 Eastern. Me and Matty Ice. I think Mangone's stopping by too. Coop, you're invited. Do you watch hockey? Yeah. See, you're laughing. You know as much about hockey as I know about NASCAR. Yet I figured out how to get through an hour show.
NASCAR than I know about hockey.
Yeah, of course.
I know nothing about hockey.
Not saying much. Like button on the way out. Matty Ice, great to see you. Coop, great to see you. Puma Com, thanks for waking up on Sunday. Well, you had to, but thanks anyways. I'm Holden. Keep running pure. Simon, get us the hell out of here.